Our sources have confirmed to us, it's been widely reported that Israel is responsible for this, but notably you still won't say that. Why is that? Is it because that's not your assessment, or because you don't support what they're doing here?
It's because I don't have anything more to add on this issue. As I said, there was no U.S. involvement, and I'm not going to go beyond that today.
Then let me ask this. These kinds of tactics, blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies, is this type of warfare acceptable to the United States?
Again, Mary, I appreciate the question. I'm simply not going to be able to address these incidents over the last couple of days in any level of detail one way or another.
Okay, let me try one other thing.
Please.
Everyone keeps urging, all parties involved not to escalate this. Isn't this an escalation already? I mean, isn't this Israel doing exactly what you've been warning them not to do?
Again, I'm not going to speak to the details of these incidents. I understand that's frustrating. I get it. And I understand where all your questions are coming from. They're all valid. They're all fair. I'm just not going to get into this. I will add, if I could, and restate a little bit to what I said to Gabe. We still don't want to see an escalation of any kind. We don't believe that the way to solve where we're at in this crisis is by additional military operations at all. We still believe that the best way to prevent escalation, to prevent another front from opening up in Lebanon, is through diplomacy.
CBS News, at least, has learned that the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, spoke yesterday with the Israeli Defense Minister 2 different times. We've been told no specifics were given about the operation that happened yesterday. Was there any heads up given yesterday that there would be more attacks in Lebanon today?
Well, I refer you to the Defense Department to speak to conversations that the Secretary had with Minister Gallant. As I said, there was no U.S. involvement in either of these incidents, and I have nothing.
One thing, though, but awareness it was coming is another.
I recognize the question. I have nothing more to add.
If you're someone who owns a pager like this that's been blown up in Lebanon in recent days, whether it was made by the Taiwanese company or the Hungarian company that may have had a licensing deal with them, should you be concerned it could blow up?
Again, Ed, I have nothing more to add on this.
Admiral, what's the White House response to the exploding walkie-talkies in Lebanon today? I know Karine addressed the pagers yesterday, but what's the latest U.S. assessment, and does the U.S. consider this a justifiable escalation?
What I can tell you is we were not involved in yesterday's incidents or today's in any way, and I don't have anything more to share.
Has the Israelis let you know about these operations?
I don't have anything more to share today.
Confirm that it's the U.S. assessment that the Israelis were behind all this?
Nothing more to share.
The Israeli defense minister said today that this is a new era of the war. What's the White House's response to that, and how concerned are you that this will cause this escalation?
All I'll say is that we want to see the war end. A ceasefire deal and a negotiation to get the hostages out is still the best outcome, and we're going to keep pursuing that.
But how do these events move forward any diplomatic solution here?
It's difficult for me to stand up here, Gabe, and tell you exactly how incidents over the last couple of days are going to affect outcomes in the next few days. All I can tell you is we're still putting our shoulder to the wheel to get the hostages home and get a ceasefire in place, as daunting as that is today. And we are still involved in intensive diplomacy to try to prevent a second front from opening up on that border with Lebanon.
Given the rhetoric and the attacks in the last few days, it seems like a full-out conflict is inevitable at this point. Would you agree with that assessment? And is the U.S. government preparing for an evacuation of American citizens in Lebanon and or in Israel in that case?
I think, and your second question was evacuation. I don't have anything with respect to evacuation preparations to talk about. I mean, that's a better question really put to the State Department. I think you know, Laura, particularly from covering the Pentagon, we have on the shelf, we have evacuation plans available for places all over the world. But I wouldn't lead that to believe that we're in a moment now where we think we need to imminently call for that or act on that right now.
What has been the impact of the latest attacks on the potential for a ceasefire deal in Gaza?
I think it's too soon to know if what happened over the last couple of days is going to have any effect on where we are with a ceasefire deal. Sadly, we aren't any closer to that now than we were even a week ago. So it's difficult to see any immediate impact of these incidents, but I think it's just too soon to know in general.
Officials have said we're 90% there. Is that still the case?
I think in terms of the agreed framework and the language, that's still the case. The framework has been agreed to. The major architecture of the deal had been agreed to by both sides. But as we said, once you get down to niddling over that last 10%, and you're in that kind of horse trading, it gets real hard, and the details get real specific, and that's where we have run into some resistance, and we're not any closer today than we were a few days ago.